right? And I heard that as I was spying on you guys for the first few minutes. So I heard a little bit of that and education came up. So we'll talk a little bit about how to choose your side hustle. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll also then get into, okay, once you choose a side hustle, how do you launch it? How do you run it? Right? And the key thing is to make sure that with any side hustle, that it's sustainable and it's profitable, because otherwise it's a passion project. And a passion project and a side hustle are very different. A side hustle should be sustainable so that you can keep it going, and it should be profitable so that you're making money from it. Nothing wrong with passion projects at all, but a lot of people confuse the two, and they're not the same thing at all. A passion project and a side hustle are different. Sustainability and profit is what differentiates the two. Before we get more into today, what I want you all to share with me in the chat is, where are you in your side hustle journey? Are you in the someday, one day, maybe I'll do it, and you're just thinking about it? Are you in the no, no, I know I'm going to start a side hustle. That's 100% certain, but I've not started it. Or are you in the, yeah, I've already started a side hustle. It's whether it's been 2 weeks or it's been 2 years, you've started your side hustle. Can you share with me in the chat which of the three buckets you're in, please? Someday, one day. Got it, Neeraj. Thanks. Okay. The third, okay, should be started. Rishi side hustle level 0. Okay. Does that mean you've decided to start? Okay. Depends. Decided to start. Maybe someday. Someday thinking of starting. Someday one day. Okay. Cool. Okay. Saurabh. Oh, I'm so excited. Somebody has proudly shared that they failed at something. That's already your like 95th percentile, and you're more likely to succeed as an entrepreneur. You know, in Israel, by the way, when you go to startup mixers and stuff, when you introduce yourself, you don't say, Hi, I am X, I am building this. You say, Hi, I'm Rashid. I've failed 2 times. I'm on my third venture. My third venture is about, because in Israel, you are more likely to get funded with the more failures you have under your belt, because they're trying to build the next Silicon Valley. And they realize that the one thing they did the research, and the one thing that separated Silicon Valley from everyone else is celebrating failure more than anything else. So they start doing that. So sort of really good start. Okay. Naveen, fitness content creator. Okay, great. Okay. Now that we know a little bit about where we are, for those of you who started, use the how to choose your side hustle section as a check of, wait, am I in the right space in the first place? Okay. And for those of you who haven't, obviously it'll help you on your initial search. Okay. Cool. I wanted to make a couple of promises. I like doing this before every meeting or every session, so I'm just going to make a couple of promises to you. Number one is I'm not going to do any of the here is a little bit, but here I'm going to hold stuff back. Whatever I know, as much as I can over the next hour, I'm just going to share with you as much as possible. Second thing is, as much as I would like for all of you to think about me as a nice person who could be your friend, my number one job here today is not to become your friend, but is to give you truth. And is sometimes truth is uncomfortable. I promise you, even when it's uncomfortable, I will give you the truth. Okay. Which means that you have to accept it as uh, advice coming from the best possible place. I want you guys to succeed at what you do. So please don't hate me if I say some things that piss you off for a minute. You can hate me for a minute. I have no problem with that. Just don't hate me for life. Okay. And the final thing is, I will try and share a little bit about next steps. So if you are clear, you want to nail your side hustle, move forward, we do stuff like the subject. So I'll share a little bit about that. If you choose, you can get into those next steps. Okay. Cool. Are we good to go? Can you all share ready in the chat, or yes, or any type of excitement that you would like to share in the chat? It'll keep me going as well. Because I know y'all are used to catching up on Sunday. I'm used to sleeping through Sunday afternoons. So I need a little bit of motivation to keep going. Okay. Thank you. Great. Cool. Let's get started. Okay. First question to all of you before we get started. Why do you want to, or why did you start your side hustle? And please be as crass as possible in the chat. I need you to share. Why do you want to, or why did you start your side hustle? Okay, cool. I'm glad everybody's taken the be crass and candid to heart. Money, 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 passive income, passive income. Yeah, I feel like these Instagram influencers have made sure that passive income is the only thing we care about in our lives. Money, passion, more free time. That's interesting. Got it. Yeah, can help you potentially find a little bit more of your purpose. Great one. Want to create something. Yeah. I was wondering when the first boredom would come out. So thanks for sharing that, Kushal. Beating boredom, because that's an important one. Okay, we've got one to move it to full time. Okay, got it. Escape from office politics. Love that. Okay, got it. Okay, cool. So lots of different takes. Money is obviously part of it as well, but there are a lot of different reasons why we want to start. I'll tell you a little bit about why I wanted to start, why I started, and also now it's been about 5 years of us working with people looking to start their side hustles. We've worked with more than 1,000 of them. So when you work with 1,000 of them, it's easy to see some patterns. So I'm going to share a couple of the patterns. Okay. Here is what I have figured out is what, a dream side hustle looks like. A dream side hustle gives you three things more than anything else. Okay. So it might give you a bit more of number 4, 5, 10, 40, but 80% of it is these three things. The first one is financial freedom. Okay. Second one is creative freedom because you want a creative outlet to put your energy into. And the third one is lifestyle freedom. Financial freedom basically is not having a lack of finances stopping you from doing things you want to do. That's essentially financial freedom, right? You don't have to make decisions purely because you're constrained by finances. So whatever financial freedom can be different levels for different people. For some people, it's an extra 10,000. For some people, it's an extra 10 crores. But essentially, it is to make sure that you can make decisions and you're not constrained by finances. Creative freedom is making sure that you can work on the type of stuff you want to work on. You can use the talent you want, the skill you want, work with clients you want, on projects you want. So you get that freedom. And lifestyle freedom is making sure that you build the type of lifestyle you want to beyond money. So, for example, if you want to have the freedom to be able to travel, your side hustle should help you do that. So, a dream side hustle unlocks these three things for you: financial freedom, creative freedom, lifestyle freedom. That's why people most often get into a side hustle because they want these three. Sometimes they want one of these three more than the others, but at different points in time, it changes. Effectively, it comes back to these three things. I have known a lot of people who've started side hustles, talked about the money aspect of it, and then even when they're making a bunch of money, are just like questioning things because they have to work either on crap projects they don't care about, and they're like, oh God, all I did is I got myself a second job. Okay. Or they make a lot of money, but they're like, now I never get to go on holiday because I'm working evenings and weekends also. That what's the point of this? Okay, so one without the other two doesn't quite work in the long run. And remember, our question is how do we make a side hustle sustainable? This is a part of that. It's not just making money consistently, it's having all these three things. Okay. Now, I noticed in the chat, one of you said this, so I will just call it out. It is not rocket science for your dream side hustle to become your dream business. Because even when we did the stats of the 1,000 business owners we worked with, it was the same three things because of which they started their business. And the only difference between the side hustle and the business is that you have more time when you decide it's a business because you've decided to quit your full time. Now, I am not saying that everybody who starts a side hustle should do it with the focus of it becoming a business. But if you build your dream side hustle, what it allows you is it gets you to a place where you have the option and you get to choose. Do I want to commit full time to this? Okay, I've got into a position where I can. Or do I want to continue the way things are? Neither option is like a better option. It's whatever is the better option for you at a particular point in time. But if we start by thinking about building a dream side hustle, not just something on the side that makes us a little bit of money with a lot of effort, then this option opens up for you. Otherwise, this option does not open up for you. Okay? So, dream business, dream side hustle, not too many differences except the commitment levels, the risk levels. Well, as I start saying it, basically the intensity just goes up. That's essentially what happens. Okay. So I want you again to share with me in the chat how many of you right now, okay, and your answer can change, of course, over time. Right now, how many of you are thinking about in the back of your mind, if I build a dream side hustle, it will one day become my dream business, and I do want to move on full time? And how many of you are just like, no, right now it's just side hustle? So just say dream side hustle or dream business. Okay. Okay, I've got a bunch of me's. I assume you're thinking about it moving forward as well. And any of you who want it to be dream side hustle, yeah, let's share. Got it. Okay, so a lot of us are thinking about it as dream business as well. So just keep that in mind as we go through today. Okay, it's not just the setup for you to make some extra money, it's to unlock the idea of you can potentially set up your dream business as well. Okay, so let's get into what is your side hustle and how to choose your side hustle. Okay, now I have, I think questions are our greatest superpower. So I just ask a bunch of questions to myself and to others. In fact, all of business coaching is listening very actively and asking the right questions at the right time. Okay. So I think asking questions is incredibly important. And I am very fortunate and arrogant enough to share that that is my superpower. Okay. In fact, I'll just demonstrate why questions are important. What is 2 plus 2? What color is my hair? What color is my background on the screen? You can't help but think about the answer, right? Four black, blue is in your mind already. That's because the way questions work is questions, when somebody asks a question, it forces someone to think in a particular direction. So I can direct where your thoughts go by framing a question in a particular way. So we should all be asking ourselves a lot more questions. And I don't know about you, but I went through Indian educational system. We were taught how to answer stuff. We were never taught how to ask good questions. So it's a skill we have to learn with time. Okay. So for what is your side hustle and how to choose it, it's just a combination of four questions. Okay. So question number one. Okay. What are you good at? And I want you all to do this exercise with me. Okay. So just take a piece of paper or a digital notepad, because we're all digitally cool and savvy nowadays. Okay. Please don't do this in your head. Okay. The brain has lots of more important things to do than remember things. So please allow your brain to think and not have to remember. Write stuff down. What are you good at? And over here, I don't want you to limit yourself to what do you think is a thing that can become your side hustle. Just write what you are good at. So think about your time at school, your time at college, your time with work. Think about what do all your friends come to you for help for? You know, what do all the people at office come to you for help for that you're really good at? Okay? If you were a superhero and you had one superpower to save the world, what is actually your superpower? What are you the best at? What do you notice you're better at than others are around you? Okay, like I shared what I'm really good at. I think one of the things is asking questions. I think I'm really good at asking questions. Right. And I'll make a whole list of it. And in this list, I don't want you to be apologetic. I want you to find your most arrogant self and write down all the stuff that you're really good at. Okay. Don't worry, we'll make sense of all of this later. Okay? Yeah, Pratiksha, you asked how do you figure out? That's what we'll do now. Okay, that's what we're starting now. How to figure out the side hustle. Okay, just share in the chat when you're done making your list. I sometimes call it a rich list. What are you rich in? Okay, I'm rich in questions. What are you rich in? Okay, cool. Got a couple of duns. Let's get some more going. Okay, great. So we've got a few. Let's get to the second question. Second question. What do you love doing? Now, those could be similar to what you're good at or could be completely different. Okay. So I might be very good at asking questions. What I love doing, honestly, more than anything else, is playing board games and playing football. That's what I love doing. Okay. And just write a whole host of things that you love doing. What are the things you enjoy doing? Another way to ask this question is, um, what would you be excited? Like if you had to wake up in the morning and you'd have to jump out of bed, what would you jump out of bed for? Another way to ask the question is, what is your tennis ball? Which is a question a friend of mine put together, which I think is a great question. His thought process was, whatever a dog is doing, if suddenly a tennis ball goes past them, they run after the tennis ball, no matter what's happening. So for you, what is that? What is that one thing that can always distract you anytime? Okay. So just put down all the things you love doing. If they are common to what you're good at, great. Okay, no problem, but you don't have to force it. Okay. Okay. Next, you can ask yourself the question, what can you be paid to do? And now start thinking about a little bit of a combination of the two. Okay, so I'll give you an example of how I stumbled upon business coaching as well, or coaching in general. One of the things I feel I'm good at is asking questions. And I feel I'm very good at connecting with people, understanding, where they're coming from. One of the things I love doing is my favorite characters in every movie I watch are the sidekicks and the mentors. So when I watch Lord of the Rings, Sam is my favorite character, Gandalf's my favorite character. When I watch Harry Potter or read Harry Potter, it's always Hermione and Dumbledore. Right? So I love the sidekicks in all shows and every movie I love. And one of the things I love doing is trying to be the sidekick or the mentor. And so, what I could be paid to do when I combine listening to people, asking questions, and I'm good at being the sidekick, very obvious answers started to be okay. One of the things I can get paid to do is training, coaching, that sort of space, education. That space seems to make sense, right? So try and see if you have obvious combinations. If you don't have obvious combinations right now, don't worry. Share in the chat a few things you're good at, what you love doing, and we'll see if me and the community can help us put some ideas together that might get your juices flowing. Okay. And question number 4, very important when it's a side hustle. What do you have the time to do? Because if you are good at chemistry, what you love doing is construction. What you can get paid to do is building chemical plants, but you have a full-time job where you're working 60 hours a week. Very unlikely that your side hustle can be building chemical plants. Your side hustle more likely has to be potentially getting into consulting with a chemical plant builder. Right? That's the closest you're going to get right now because you have like 4 hours a week. Okay. So what do you have the time to do? So what do you have the time to do starts to constrain your options a little bit. Okay. For those of you who said you all are familiar with design thinking, there's a framework in design thinking called diverge, converge. It's really simple. It's not rocket science. These two questions, what are you good at? What do you love doing? Are diverge. Basically, get a whole bunch of answers. What can you be paid to do out of these things? What do you have the time to do is where you converge and you start to say, okay, out of all these options, what's actually possible? Okay. Okay. Now, here's something very important. For those of you who have an obvious answer, you should automatically move forward to, okay, how do I make this work? Right? For those of you who don't have an obvious answer, your number one objective is not to come up with an answer for life. It is to come up with what are two, three options I can try out for a little bit. That's it. You don't have to choose one, and then life is, that's your side hustle. You can say, okay, one of my options, let's say I'm good at writing, I enjoy writing, whatever. One option is I could freelance write and see if newspapers want to pick up my article. Another one is, oh, you know what? I could freelance with startup founders to see whether I can help write an article about their business. These are similar skills, but different ways of starting a side hustle. They might be different things you try out. So, what I would do if I had options is I would just say, okay, first 2 months, which one do I want to try? Second 2 months, which one do I want to try? After 6 months, you would have tried three things, and then you can pick which one you enjoy the most. So, sometimes you don't want to solve everything in your head. You want to just do stuff, and through experience, you'll sort of learn it, right? Okay, just share in the chat how many of you have, if you have a clear idea. Okay, it's very clear this is the area you want to explore. Can you share in the chat what area you want to explore? And if you're not clear, just put down a couple of options you're thinking about. Okay? So, Atashi, you said food. So, I want the next level of detail. Okay. Food is a category. I want to know whether you have clarity on the side hustle. Like, by food, do you mean food blogger? Do you mean food consultant? Do you mean you'll work with bars and restaurants to help get their menus in a more creative way? What within food? Okay. Try and get to the next level. Okay, fitness, nutrition, branding, creative consulting, coding. Oh, wow, very cool. So maybe very cool landing pages for marketing campaigns because they need brand, they need creative, they need coding. Harinder, you're going to live all of our dreams by making gaming your side hustle. I love it. Okay, podcasting, soft skills, trauma through yoga. Awesome, right? So we've got a bunch of ideas already. This tells me the fact that we've got these answers so quickly that most of you have been thinking about the side hustle for a while and have done nothing. That's basically what it sounds like. That we've been thinking, we've talked in the pub about it many times, saying like, "Arey yaar, if I only did this and I had the time to do it, this would be game changing." That's what it feels like to me. So let's make sure we get into this next section so we know where to start. Okay. Cool. So are we good to move to how do we actually, move forward with the side hustle? Yeah. Okay, for this, what I'm going to request is I like getting people in workshops to do some work while you're here, not just reading about stuff. So I'm going to get you all to do some work. So not everything is homework. Okay, so we'll do some work in class also. Can I request we share Ayush or Sagar? I'm not sure if you have the link to share with the community. What I'm going to do is I've built a little bit of a business calculator and a side hustle calculator because each of us have financial goals. So I want us to build this together. Okay. So I am going to work on this calculator live. What I would recommend to you guys is if you all just, Ayush shared a link in the chat. If you all just put in your email ID and your details in that form, the calculator will just be sent over to you right now. And so what we can do is you all can work on it live as well. So I'll give you all a minute to set this up and then I'll get started working on the calculator. We'll do a little bit of math to start our side hustle journey because, well, numbers are important. Okay, so I'll just give it a minute, get set up. I'll also get set up with the calculator. We'll have some fun with some math. Okay.
There's also ping the link in the group in case you find it easier to do it from the phone.
Thanks, Sagar. And just share in the chat, yeah, when you've got your calculator ready to go.
Can I ask a quick question on the just previous part in the meantime? Everybody is setting it up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I think that's what at least happened with me while I was working on the business with the job, right? I think the last question, how much time do you have to spend on it? You tend to kind of a lot of times overestimate it in the beginning because you have that passion and you feel you want to kind of go ahead and do it.
Yeah, yeah,
So is there some way to kind of correctly estimate how much time a business would need in the initial stage or how much
yeah.
time should you spend?
Yeah, what a great question. Um, okay, I'll give you an analogy, okay, as to how to think about this. It's really simple. I always ask my fitness trainer, what's the best exercise to do? Okay, and his answer is always whichever exercise you'll actually do. Okay, and the reason why he says that is because consistency wins, focus wins. That's what always wins and will get you to the end result. So the way to think about this time question is how much time will you actually give it every week? It's not about how much time it needs, how much time you think you have, none of those. It's just how much time will you actually sit down and dedicate to this every week. And then you design your life around that constraint. and you design the side hustle opportunity around that constraint. So if you are somebody who wants to build a side hustle and you think you can give 4 hours a week to it, whether evenings, weekends, whatever, then let's build the side hustle at that pace. But let's actually do the 4 hours. Don't sit and say, you know what, I will give 20 hours a week and then do that for 2 weeks and then you can only give 1.5 hours. That's not what's actually going to get you to the result that you want. How much time do you actually think you'll give? That's really the question to answer, right? So I always find that I think about it as school. You know how we used to have extracurricular activity? It's like an extracurricular activity. If you enjoy it enough, you'll give it the time. If you're organized with your academics, you'll have more time to give it. I mean, it's a function of those two things. So, no scientific answer for everyone. It can be different, but how much time will you actually give it? In fact, what a great question. I feel like everybody in the chat should commit and decide how much time are you actually going to give it every week. Okay, to set this side hustle up. Let's just put it down in the chat. Okay? And put down a number you'll actually give. Where if you had a boss for these 10 hours, Shashank, you'll actually give the 10 hours because there's no boss for you for these 10 hours. Nobody to answer saying, are you in? You've been sick for 8 weeks, haven't you come into work? Nobody is going to ask you these questions for your side hustle. Okay. Let's commit. Let's see sometimes. Ayush, can you just make sure give me edit access to the sheet, please? I want to actually do the calculations.
Yeah, so sorry, done.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, are we good to play around with our sheet? Yeah, everybody got it? You've got some time commitments as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna share a screen so we can do some math on a Sunday afternoon. It seems like a great idea. Okay, let's go. Okay, this calculator is not rocket science, but numbers help you get clarity. Okay. Now, we said one of the goals for a side hustle is financial freedom. Financial freedom comes in the form of money. So, we should be clear on if we have a side hustle, what's the goal? How much money do we want to generate from this side hustle? Now, I don't have the time to go into scientific goal setting, etc. So, for now, I'm just going to have to trust you that you all have good instincts with your goals. Okay. I always find a really good way to think about your goal is if you're in a full-time job, think about the percentage of your full-time job income that you want to generate from your side hustle this year. Because essentially, like I said, I feel like the objective of a dream side hustle is to eventually open up the option for you to build a dream business or not. And that means you should have the opportunity to quit at some point. And if you don't want to, don't, but you should have that choice. So if, for example, my salary was, let's say, at 6 lakhs a year, the way I would think about this is I would just put down 6 lakhs and be like, what percentage of that income from a side hustle would get me excited and give me that option to go full time. So if I said, for example, if I earn 50% of my income through my side hustle this year by only giving it 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a week, then maybe I have the option to quit because I know if I give it full time, then it can generate more, or I can just continue at this rate. So that's a simple way to put in your number over here. Put in equal to your salary times what percentage of your salary. For the ambitious ones in us, please put your percentage is 125%. There's nothing wrong. Okay, this goal is your goal. Nobody gets to tell you whether your goal is too high or too low right now. You're just starting out. It's all gut instinct. Okay. So glad, Shashank. Thanks so much for sharing. You love math. So there's one person that doesn't hate me on this session. That's nice to know. Okay. Okay. Next question. Is there a percentage that you might need to spend to run the business? So, for example, if your side hustle is, and I'll just try and pick out one of the examples we have, right? Let's say, oh, sorry, losing the example. Okay. Planning and managing events from Megha. Okay. I just want you to think about to run that side hustle. Is there any expense that you have to think about? So, for example, let's say you can do a lot of the client meeting and the planning, but you will be at your job when the event is happening. So, you'll need to hire somebody to run it. All I want you to think about and put in over here is, okay, maybe, the 10% of what I earn will go as money that I'll have to pay. And the reason why I want you to think about this is because most of us, when we're thinking about a side hustle, think that this number should be zero. But I understand it might be only your time, even as a coach, but I'll spend a little bit on getting a Zoom subscription so that every session of mine doesn't have to be 40 minutes or under. So some money is going to go somewhere. And if you eventually want to build a business, you have to have this attitude that it takes money to make money. So a little bit you're going to have to be able to spend. Once you put in this percentage, what this will tell you is, hey, that means you need to make this much money. You need to make sales worth this much. And you're going to spend this much in the year. That's how you'll get to your income goal. Simple math, not complicated at all. Okay? That's how you set side hustle goals. No complications, no data, market research. You don't need to do any of this stuff to start. Okay? Keep it simple. The simpler you keep things, the more likely you are to start. The more likely you are to start, the more likely you are to have a side hustle. Okay, so if you keep trying to build one 90-page business plan, you're unlikely to start. I'm speaking from experience. I built a 90-page business plan. And then I met my business coach at the time who asked me only one question. So what have you done? And I was like, I built a 90-page business plan. And he was like, yeah, so what have you done? So I was like, I reviewed the business plan. And he was like, so what have you done? And I was like, nothing. So he's like, okay, then I don't care about this business plan. So we've got to do things if you want to build your side hustle. Okay. Okay. Now the next part of the calculator is dependent on the type of business or side hustle you are thinking about running. Okay. So think about this as projects or products. Okay. Okay. Most of you have talked about service-based side hustles, yoga, planning events, soft skills coaching. Most of these things are services, right? So actually projects by itself might be fine. Now, essentially, this is saying, okay, you have to make, let's say you only do projects. Okay. So managing these events, right? That's the example we're going with for Mega. That means I have to first understand, okay, I want to make this much money. But remember, we have lifestyle freedom also. We can't just be doing 300 projects that gives us 3.75 lakhs. So the question to ask is, how many projects can you actually do in 2024? So now you're just taking that time answer I asked you to give. You said 5 hours per week. Okay. I want you to think about how much time it takes to execute one project and then do the math to say, and this is really, I'll walk you through it. If I have 5 hours a week, and let's discount because we take some holidays and some weeks we won't give all the time. So let's say 40 weeks in the year. Okay. That means I have 200 hours to give. If each project takes 20 hours to deliver, I can deliver 10 projects. So I'll put over here, I can do 10 projects. So it will tell you, okay, that means each project has to at least be 37,500 bucks. Okay, this is important stuff to do because most people are like, side hustle, side hustle. Then they start working, then they work on a project for 4 months. Then they're like, oh, I earned 12 rupees because of this project. Side hustle suck. It's because they've not thought about any of these numbers. Okay? So let's put these numbers again, just share in the chat when you're done. Please take the time to do the basic math. How many hours multiplied by take 40 weeks because holiday, etc. Okay. Multiply it by number of weeks. How many hours will it take to deliver a project? Your best guess right now because you're not certain about it. So best guess. Be conservative. So if I think it's 15, I'll put 20. Just because it is likely to take more time than you think in the first few tries at least. And then you'll know how many projects I can do. That will tell you your price, minimum price. That doesn't mean you have to sell it. You can sell it at 3.75 lakhs, but you can't sell it for below 37,500. Otherwise, it's pointless. Okay. Cool. Next is if you have the type of business where you want only retainers. So let's say your side hustle is uh, instead of Mega planning one event at a time, she wants to tie up with a company to run their events every month for this year. Okay, so she wants them on retainer, basically. So if that's the case, the question is not how many projects, it's how many clients can I service at any one time. So if I have 5 hours in a week and it takes 2 hours to service each client every week, like I have to talk to them, I have to do stuff for them for 2 hours, that means I can work with two clients at a time. Okay. And if a client, like a company says, I can't do 12 months with you, but I'll do 3 months with you at a time, then you put down 3 months and it will tell you that means every month you cannot pitch for less than 62,500 bucks. Otherwise, you will not hit your goal. So notice what we're doing. We are working backwards from our goal, not forward from our hopes and dreams. We're not saying, okay, we'll start, then we'll see where we get to. We are always working backwards from our goal. This is the number one mistake. Forget just side hustlers, business owners make all the time. They're like, okay, we're here. What can we do now? But the actual question to ask is, what is your goal? What are your constraints? How are you going to get there? This gives me clarity, right? I know, okay, if I can't come up with an offer worth 60,000 bucks a month, this formula, this business model does not work. So I'll have to keep doing. Let's say I know I can only sell at 40,000 bucks a month. Then it's telling me that means, boss, you've got to figure out how to service three clients at a time. That means you either have to give more time or you have to be smarter with your time. One of the two things has to change. And then finally, if Mega wants to do 50% of her time on retainers and 50% time on projects, you have to do both the calculations. Okay, I've got to earn 1.8 from retainers, 1.8 from projects. Fill in the numbers. I can service three clients. They stay for 3 months. I can close them for 20,000 because I can also do four projects worth 50,000 bucks. So I can do both these things in combination and I'll get to my 3.75 goal because I'm splitting it half and half. So what I want you to do is we're doing the first version of the calculations now. What you do now, there's a reason why I'm asking you to do this on an editable Google Sheet, not carved in blood on your hand, because you can change these numbers. You can play around with these numbers to see a formula that fits you better and your life circumstance better. But one thing is certain, your goal should not change. Okay, the important thing to build that entrepreneur mindset is your goals are fixed, your approach is fluid. If you make your goals keep changing, you've got a very, very small chance of getting to where you want to go because you don't even know where you want to go. It's like going into Google Maps and saying destination anywhere. Then Google Maps is going to say, then go anywhere. Take left, right, how does it matter? So you have to have a destination. Then all of this is you can have fun with and figure out. So if I say I'm projects only and I try and close at 37 and a half and I'm like, wait a minute, I can close at 60. Suddenly that tells me, wait a minute, I can do this with only what, 6 clients? Or I might be ambitious and say, wait a minute, can I get greedy? Can I make my goal 6? Right? So play around with these numbers. Okay. Don't be afraid to play around with this. Mega great question. Multiple side hustles. Okay. I'll give you the rapid fire answer to this. Terrible idea. Terrible idea because a side hustle by definition is already the second thing you are doing. And this is the second thing in work. Then you have time for relationship, family, friends. December, everybody's going to have a blast. So I'm not going to have any time. I might want a hobby. I might want to learn the violin. You focus wins. The more you focus, the more likely you are to win. The less you focus, the less likely you are to win. So multiple side hustles, terrible idea. Multiple passion projects, totally up to you. Right? Because they don't have specific goals. They're just fun things that you're doing. Then do how many ever. You want a side hustle, please pick one. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So I tell business owners also who are starting out, who have like, I want to start 4 business. I'm like, boss, you can be Elon Musk later. First start with one, nail one down, then we'll see, right? What we can do, what we can't do. It's nothing saying that you only do one side hustle for life, but start with one, do it right, and then we can branch out. Okay. Cool. I think that's enough math fun for Sunday. And I'm just noticing time.